They just disappeared. One day you were talking, making plans, sharing laughs, and the next? Radio silence. A black hole where a person used to be. Now you're here, trying to find the answer to that one burning question. What did I do wrong? But what if I told you that question is the very thing keeping you stuck in a cycle of pain? What if the answer has almost nothing to do with you and everything to do with them? Their vanishing act isn't a reflection of your worth, but a map of their limitations. In this video, I'm going to show you why their disappearance is actually the first step to you reclaiming your power, and we're starting right now. The unsolved mystery. Let's be real, being ghosted is uniquely painful. It's not just the silence, it's the gaping, echoing question mark they leave behind. Your brain is a meaning-making machine, wired to solve puzzles and complete stories. But ghosting is like reading a mystery novel, only to find the last 30 pages have been violently torn out. There's no final chapter, no confession, no whodunit, just a hole where a connection used to be. This creates a state of intense cognitive dissonance, a mental conflict where you believed things were going one way, and the reality of their silence violently contradicts it. So, what does your brain do? It scrambles to write the ending itself. And in the absence of any other information, you almost always cast yourself as the villain of the story. You become the prime suspect in a crime you didn't even know was committed. The psychological damage. So, the mental torture begins. You lie awake at night, scrolling through old messages, becoming a forensic detective of your own recent past. You replay every interaction with excruciating detail. That one joke I made, was it cringy? That text I sent, did it sound too desperate? Did I talk too much about myself? Your mind becomes a hamster on a wheel, running the same track over and over, going nowhere, but getting more and more exhausted. You're desperately scrambling to find any answer that can make sense of the deafening silence. Psychologically, this painful reaction makes total sense. Neuroscientific research shows that social rejection lights up the same pain centers in the brain as actual physical pain. Your brain's alarm system starts screaming danger as if you'd just touched a hot stove. But ghosting adds a layer of mental cruelty because of the profound ambiguity. Without the closure of a clear rejection, your mind gets stuck in that painful loop of rumination. You start to question not just what you did, but who you are at your core. Your self-worth plummets. You start to believe, on a deep level, that maybe you're not interesting enough, not attractive enough, not even worthy of a simple two-sentence goodbye. The ghoster may have vanished from your life, but they've just taken up residence in your head, rent-free, trashing the place, and making you question your own value. That's where the real, lasting damage happens. But here's the truth you came for. You're looking for clues in all the wrong places. The answer isn't in your sent messages. It's in their inability to send one back. The truth, fear, and immaturity. All right, let's get brutally honest. Their silence isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a direct revelation of their character. When someone ghosts you, it's like they're handing you their emotional report card, and it is covered in failing grades. The first and most common reason people ghost is that they are terrified of conflict. The thought of an uncomfortable conversation, even a brief one, is like staring into the headlights of an oncoming car. They just freeze. They lack the basic communication skills and emotional maturity required for even a minor confrontation, so they take the path of least resistance. They disappear because it's easier than acting like an adult and honoring the connection you shared, no matter how brief. It is emotional cowardice, plain and simple. They prioritize their own comfort over your dignity and peace of mind. Their emotional baggage. The second major reason is their own emotional baggage, and specifically, their attachment style. Many people who ghost have what psychologists call an avoidant attachment style. They see intimacy and emotional closeness as a rising tide that threatens to drown their independence and feeling of control. So, the second the water level of intimacy starts to rise, they run for high ground. ghosting is their emergency escape hatch, a quick, clean way to run from feelings they just can't handle. Here's the most confusing part. Sometimes they ghost you not because they don't like you, but because they do. And that feeling of genuine connection is terrifying to them. It triggers their deep-seated fear of being engulfed or losing themselves. It's a form of self-sabotage. They run from a good thing because deep down, they're afraid of it or feel unworthy of it. Their departure has nothing to do with you and everything to do with a pattern they've likely been repeating their whole lives. Misguided intentions and lack of empathy. Third, some people ghost in a twisted attempt to be nice. They convince themselves that disappearing is kinder and less hurtful than a direct rejection. This is like a doctor saying a broken bone will heal on its own to avoid the unpleasantness of setting it, leaving you in more pain for a much longer period. They prioritize their own comfort over your feelings, telling themselves they're sparing you when they're really just sparing themselves from a few moments of feeling guilty or awkward. And finally, some people ghost because they're emotionally detached or have what are known as dark triad traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. For these individuals, relationships are purely transactional. Narcissists ghost because their ego can't handle being the bad guy, or because you no longer serve their need for admiration. Machiavellians ghost because it's a simple, manipulative tactic to exit a situation they no longer see as useful. And those with psychopathic traits ghost because they fundamentally lack the empathy to even consider the pain their silence causes. For them, people are like disposable coffee cups. Once they've had their fill, you're tossed aside without a second thought. Do you see the pattern here? Fear, immaturity, avoidance, and a profound lack of empathy. None of this is about you. Their silence isn't a judgment of your value. It's a confession of their own character deficits. How to take your power back. So, what now? This is where we flip the script entirely. The moment you stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start seeing their silence for what it truly is, a gift of clarity, is the moment you take your power back. First, pull your energy back, immediately. Your first instinct is to chase, to text again, to check their social media, to demand an answer. Fight that urge with everything you have. Unplug from them and turn all of that focus inward. Put the phone down, go for a walk, journal your feelings, talk to a trusted friend. The most powerful response to their silence is your own dignified, self-respecting silence. Second, create your own closure. Waiting for an explanation is like outsourcing your healing to someone who has already proven themselves to be completely unreliable. You must understand this. Their silence is the closure. It's the loudest, clearest message they could have possibly sent. I am not capable of showing up for you in the way you deserve. Thank them silently for that information, for revealing their character so plainly, and close the door yourself. You don't need their permission to move on. Reframe loss to liberation. Next, you must actively reframe this experience from a loss to a liberation. You didn't really lose them. You lost the idea of them you had built up in your head. You're mourning a fantasy, a future that never actually existed. Now ask yourself honestly, do you really want a partner who bolts at the first sign of discomfort? Someone who lacks the basic courage for an honest adult conversation? Absolutely not. Their ghosting wasn't a loss. It was a highly effective filtering process. They did you a favor by removing themselves from your life. Let this experience be like a vaccination. It hurt, yes, but now you have the antibodies to recognize emotional immaturity and poor communication skills much earlier. Get crystal clear on the communication and respect you absolutely require. Write it down if you have to. In the future, inconsistent communication and avoidance aren't mysteries to solve. They are red flags to recognize and act on. The ultimate power move. The final and most important step is to rise. Don't just react. The ultimate power shift happens when their absence becomes completely irrelevant, because you're too busy building a life you are madly in love with. Don't just be the heartbroken detective in their cheap mystery novel. Be the architect of your own empire. Healing and power come from deciding to level up so powerfully that their ghosting becomes nothing more than a tiny footnote in your incredible story. Reconnect with friends, throw yourself into a project, learn that skill you've been putting off, hit the gym, plan a trip. Get so absorbed in building a beautiful, fulfilling life that one day you'll realize you haven't thought about them at all. That is the ultimate win. Their silence becomes a forgotten whisper in the loud, joyful life you've created for yourself. The brutal truth about being ghosted is that it's rarely about you, but your healing is entirely up to you. Their silence does not define your worth, but how you respond to it will define your strength. This wasn't a rejection. It was a divine redirection towards someone and something better, starting with a better, more loving, and more respectful relationship with yourself. You weren't ghosted, you were set free. This experience is incredibly common, so know that you are not alone in this feeling. If you've been through this, share one thing in the comments below that helped you take your power back. Your story could be the very thing someone else needs to read today to start their own healing. And if this message hit home and you're ready to stop giving your power away and start becoming the hero of your own story, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Remember, your worth was never up for debate.